If God had to wait till he had a perfect vessel to use, he will not be able to use any vessel. I've seen people who don't pray. They are not perfect. I've seen people who pray so much, they become proud. They are still not perfect because they are proud. I've seen people who pray very much, but are very bitter and resentful. I've seen pastors who are very strong prayer warriors, but they are out there on the internet, always castigating other pastors. Nobody is perfect. If God had to wait till he got a perfect vessel to use, share two scriptures. Who? Abraham lied. Moses was afraid. David first committed adultery, then murder, tried to cover his sin. That was David. Joseph was proud. Everybody had something wrong with them. Everybody. So if you look through scriptures, you find people who are imperfect. You find their imperfection even in their ministry. See Elijah, very intolerant, temperamental prophet, killed everybody he could see, rained down fire. God said, go and show thyself unto Ahab. I will send rain on the earth. That was what God told him last. The last thing he heard. He went there and began to call fire. That was who he was. He was temperamental. Elisha called out beer to consume little children because he was bad-headed. Consume everybody. Elisha was so selfish and self-centered that there was a famine in the nation and he would do nothing about it. So far he had some form of supernatural provision and he was eating his own house. He didn't care about it. People were killing their children. Elisha didn't care. That was the prophet of the nation. So if I look at through the scriptures one by one, I see imperfection splattered. Peter was afraid. Even after he gave his life to Christ and became born again, he was eating with Gentiles. He saw the Jews coming. He couldn't pretend to clean his mouth as if he was not eating with them. Paul says, you ate with them. How dare you live a double-faced life? Paul rebuked him. How about Paul? Paul, very intolerant, very impatient. Paul, who preached about love, being impatient, was not patient with John Mark. John Mark was a small boy who followed them with a patient John. But when he saw persecution, his eyes saw shege. He bought sunshade. He still didn't walk. He still saw shege. He ran away. So the second mission journey, he wanted to go with them. Paul says, you are not going anywhere with me. Who would believe that a man who is a recipient of grace will not give somebody else a second chance? He didn't give that boy a second chance. That's Paul. Thank God for people like Barnabas who sat with John Mark and taught him the Bible. That's why you have the book of Mark today. The book of Mark is that somebody gave Mark a second chance when Paul wasn't. That's Paul. But yet, he was a vessel. If God had to wait till he had the perfect vessel, you have no vessel.